We're going to be looking at news clips claiming and showing that aliens exist. These people are not to be ignored, they are not to be laughed at, and they are not to be looked down upon. When the Secretary of Defense from Israel says that he has been dealing with aliens for the past 30 years, that is something to believe. Israel has always been a holy and religious hotspot. There's many holy and religious hotspots within the Middle East. People confused aliens with gods. We will be showing how the islanders in Indonesia during World War II had no idea about technical advancement or airplanes. And when our pilots came in and landed on their islands as island hoppers, they supplied the local tribes with goods and services they would have never had before. After the war, the tribes started building all kinds of different things, praise the gods to get them to come back and help them out once again. These were not gods. These were American soldiers that were fighting in a war on another side of the planet. These were not gods. They were just regular human beings, just like the indigenous people of the islands that they were invading, making runways and landing on. When the aliens showed up to this planet thousands of years ago, they had Neanderthals to deal with. There is old, 10,000 plus year old proof of existence of technology and buildings. We will get into that in other videos. This video, we're looking at a news article from a couple of years ago showing that aliens do exist and political heads are actually saying this. This is not a joke. This is not a drill. We need to change our mindsets and our mentality. This is not a religion thing. This is a reality thing. This is the indigenous people. Welcome to the channel.
Aliens exist and President Trump knows about it. That's according to Israel's former space security chief. In an interview with an Israeli newspaper, he said the aliens have been waiting until today for humanity to develop and reach a stage where we will understand in general what space and spaceships are. NBC News chief global correspondent Bill Neely explains this one.
Just under 100 years ago, we didn't know what aircraft were. Roughly 60 years ago, we were working on going to space. This is not something that we've been doing for hundreds of years. They finally have a time frame where we understand.
Hi, Alison. Well, this is quite a story, and it comes from the man who headed Israel's space security program for nearly 30 years. Chaim Eshed is making the extraordinary claim that the United States and Israel have been in contact with a group of aliens for years. Not immigrants, but extraterrestrials.
For years, not just recently.
He has called them the Galactic Federation of Aliens, and he says President Trump is aware of the existence of these aliens and had been on the verge of revealing their secrets, he claims, but was asked not to.
Star Trek style idea, not Star Wars style idea. If you know the difference, then it's easier to understand. We're talking having the ability of getting replicators so that we have no more needs. A replicator can supply us with whatever we want, whenever we want. It's that simple. Star Trek, not Star Wars.
Do so by the Federation in order to prevent what he calls mass hysteria. Well, the retired general says the US and Israel have kept it from the public because, quotes, humanity isn't ready and the aliens don't want to reveal themselves until humanity can evolve, he says, and understand what space really is. Good news is that he claims an agreement has been reached between the US government and the aliens, a contract to do experiments here. There's also, he says, a secret underground base on Mars where there are American and alien representatives.
Mars. This is how top secret is. We don't know what they're doing, when they're doing it. We only find out after the fact.
Now, this former head of a branch of Israel's defense ministry is 87. He was very well respected. He says he's come forward now in the hope that his news will be accepted as true. He notes that if he'd made these claims...
I've heard a lot of people asking about, will they pay my bills? How will this affect my life? Are they going to come in and help me out? Are they going to pay my student loans? Why are you asking somebody that's not even from this planet to take care of responsibilities that you accrued on your own? Take responsibility for your own actions. This is part of our problem. Accountability is a thing. The aliens are afraid of war, and they're afraid of us being a mean and aggressive people. We as humans are very aggressive people. We fight a lot. We war a lot, mainly over religion. If we turn around and look at the gods as they truly were, just aliens coming down to help out a new planet, kind of like terraforming, then our mindset can change and it will help us evolve.
5 years ago, he would have been hospitalized, but now he says, I've got nothing to lose. Well, so far, President Trump has not tweeted about this, though remember a year ago he did set up the Space Force as the fifth branch of the US Armed Forces. Well, we did ask...
Do you not think that was intentional?
The White House, the Department of Defense and Israeli officials to comment. So far, they have not responded to the NBC News request.
After 30 years at the helm of the
This is Israeli Daily, an Israeli newscaster, not NBC.
After 30 years at the helm of the Israeli space security program, and after receiving 3 Israeli security awards, retired Israeli general and respected professor Chaim Eshed is now unveiling that yes, there are aliens among us, yes, Israel has made contact with them, and no, humanity is not ready for them. A galactic federation complete with an underground base on Mars, where there are American and alien representatives apparently present.
This is the second time in a different news outlet that they've said the same thing.
He also explains that President Trump both knows about them and was on the verge of disclosing their existence, only to be persuaded not to by the Federation, in order to avoid mass hysteria and panic here on Earth. Apparently, humanity just still has a long way to grow before we can understand the gravity of their presence.
That is an understatement. All of the religious people and all of the extreme religious people would have a super hard time understanding and accepting, though everything that they have been told has been a lie. Now, I understand how much betrayal comes with that realization, but that is the realization. The TV show Ancient Aliens shows on every single episode how there has been and always will be aliens on this planet. The aliens were seen as gods. The aliens came down and transcribed books. The aliens picked up people like Mohammed, Enoch, Joseph Smith, and brought them to their ships, educated them. The aliens came down as gods and educators. If you know anything about Norse mythology, Celtic history, Greek mythology, Roman mythology, any of the religions or belief systems that had multiple deities, one of the deities taught alchemy and magics. So there is a separation between magical abilities within the human and God. We as humans can be magic users. We as humans are magic users. That is not religion. Christianity removed the Book of Enoch from the Bible. The Book of Enoch tells how Enoch was taken and brought to a ship and educated about many different things.
Final question, however, is what do they want? But perhaps thankfully for us, Eshed says that it's essentially just to research and understand the fabric of the universe.
Mars, a cold, lifeless place. Yet just a few meters beneath the surface, a secret underground base hums with activity. American astronauts walk the hallways of this secret base, talking and exchanging research notes with aliens from another planet. This might sound like the opening to a fantasy novel, but according to one of the most credible individuals in the world, it's our present-day reality.
This is Watch Mojo. They don't joke around and make things up. It is to be known.
Dr. Chaim Eshed is not a backwoods country bumpkin talking about strange lights in the sky and little green men putting probes where the sun doesn't shine. He's one of the most respected men in Israel and America both. A former general in the Israeli military, he's also the co-founder of Israel's space agency and considered a national hero for his efforts to launch Israel into the space age. More on that, he's a professor of aeronautics and astronautics and a member of the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics.
This guy has more credentials than would ever be needed. Why on earth he would turn around and make up a fable saying that aliens existed when they did not makes absolutely zero sense. And him waiting until he was so old to do it, worried about his reputation, shows he knew we wouldn't believe him.
Aliens are real, and the American and Israeli governments are cooperating with them. According to Dr. Eshed, aliens representing a galactic federation of like-minded species have made contact with at least two governments on Earth. The Israeli and American governments, Britain and France, are also likely aware of the existence of these extraterrestrials.
Russia, China, Britain, France, Europe, America, Canada, and the Middle East all have UFO research facilities.
Don't worry, these aliens aren't here to eat your brains. Instead, they're curious about humanity and awaiting a time when humanity is mature enough to join their galactic federation of allied species who share the ultimate goal of understanding the universe.
I understand all this is a repeat from the first thing, but it's still a repeat. These people are all saying the same thing. This should be paid attention to.
It's exactly what brain-eating space aliens would want you to believe. But according to Dr. Eshed, their intentions are so far peaceful. In fact, cooperation agreements have already been signed between the U.S. and these aliens, resulting in a research laboratory on Mars itself, where American astronauts work side by side with extraterrestrials. Current President Donald Trump, as of this writing, not only knows about the existence of these aliens, he nearly revealed their existence publicly, but was warned not to due to concerns over mass hysteria.
Which is a true point. A lot of people don't care. They say they don't care. The religious people are another people that are going to have a super hard time with it. But the general public as a whole, once they find out that what they thought may have been real is actually real, will definitely make people scared, because everybody will wonder and worry about what their intentions are.
Let's explore the reasons why this claim is likely a fabrication and why it might actually be real. As you'll soon see, Dr. Eshed is far from the only high-level, credible individual to have come out making a startlingly similar claim. First, let's investigate why this claim is likely false. Dr. Chaim Eshed is certainly a credible witness as far as qualifications go, yet he is currently selling a book dedicated at least in part to his claims of extraterrestrial contact. That can't help but cast aspirations on his claim of space aliens. As the old saying goes, it can be hard to trust a man with a book to sell. In both the United States and Israel, though, there's another saying amongst the intelligence communities responsible for both protecting each nation's highest national secrets and discovering those of the enemies. And that saying is that aliens make great cover stories. A U.S. CIA agent once famously said, "I love UFO stories because as long as people look up into the sky and see something weird and they're thinking alien spacecraft, they're not thinking secret U.S. plane." This idea is pretty sound, and the fact is that it now has been proven that many UFO sightings over the years have in fact been sightings of aircrafts such as the American F-117 stealth fighter, the B-2 stealth bomber, and specially modified Black Hawk helicopters used by Special Operations Forces, especially true when those aircraft are still in their secret design and testing phases and not quite yet public knowledge.
We know the difference between a helicopter, an airplane, and a spaceship, just by how fast they move and the angles that they move at. We know what is humanly possible and what is not humanly possible. If something takes a corner at a big sweep, like an airplane does, we know it's an airplane. If something takes a 90-degree or 180-degree corner and all of a sudden shoots back the other way after it's been shooting a certain direction, that is not humanly possible, and the G-forces would absolutely destroy somebody. When a speck of light turns around and does a poof afterwards, that is not something that comes along with human aircraft.
The simple truth is that aliens make for a great cover story for secret government programs, and that leads us back to Dr. Chaim Eshed. Dr. Eshed has a career in Israeli military, attaining the rank of general. He also helped found the Israeli space program, a vital element of the Israeli intelligence apparatus, as it was largely geared toward establishing a space-based military and surveillance infrastructure. For a country with as many enemies as Israel, a robust space capability is of the utmost importance. While Dr. Eshed may not have been directly employed by Israel's intelligence agencies, he was no doubt heavily in support of them in his duties with Israel's space agency. Given the extremely crafty nature of Israeli intelligence operations, amongst the most legendary in the world, it's not at all unbelievable that Dr. Chaim Eshed is merely fulfilling one final task on behalf of the American and Israeli intelligence services, disseminating disinformation to act as a cover story for current and future secret programs. As he has himself stated publicly, he's 87 years old and no longer cares about his reputation. The claims of human-alien cooperation are also dubious at best. According to Dr. Eshed, American astronauts work side by side with aliens in a secret base on Mars, conducting research together. If an alien species is intelligent enough to cross the galaxy and get to us in a timely fashion, then what possible use are humans to them in conducting research? Even their calculators would be smarter than us. Having humans assist spacefaring aliens in research would be like inviting a wild chimpanzee into a research lab to help develop a COVID vaccine.
That is not true. That is not true at all. We have some of the best out-of-the-box thinkers ever. If you collect up the right people and the right brains, you will get amazing results. The human brain and human imagination can come up with all kinds of things that nobody ever thought was possible. We have jetpacks, we have hoverboards, we have all kinds of inventions that never, ever were supposed to be possible. So the human brain can definitely be an asset if you inform them and educate them. You get some of the highest thinking scientists on Mars and you give them information, they will by all means run with it.
Given humanity's behavior throughout 2020, both scenarios would likely involve equal amounts of poop throwing. But what if the claims are real? Well, there might be quite a lot of factors proving Dr. Eshed's story is actually true. First, we have Dr. Chaim Eshed himself, a career military professional, co-founder of a space agency, respected academic, and no history of mental illness or delusions. He served with the Israeli space program for nearly 30 years, receiving the Israeli Defense Award 3 times, twice.
Those 3 things are extremely important. No issues in the head. Highly, highly decorated and award-winning.
For technological inventions that remain classified to this day. The doctor is
Gee, how did he come up with the ideas to make those?
Clearly intelligent and possesses a high amount of integrity. Nobody lasts as long as he has in high security clearance work without impeccable integrity. In short, if anyone was gonna leak the news that aliens are real, then Dr. Eshed is quite literally the perfect, most trustworthy candidate to do so. The only possible way this announcement could have been more believable is if the claim was made by a serving head of state themselves in an official capacity. What we have here is one step short.
I don't know if anybody higher than him would be believed just as much as he was not believed. The people do not believe it and they don't care. We need to, though. This is important. This could be life-changing. for the entire planet. This is planet-changing information.
Of the perfect witness, which makes it curious that his claims are so easily dismissed. Ask yourself the question, who would you believe if not a man of Dr. Eshed's qualifications? But Dr. Eshed isn't alone in his belief of extraterrestrials. In a 2014 interview with Jimmy Kimmel, former President Bill Clinton said that he wouldn't be surprised if aliens visited the Earth. However, he denied knowledge of actual aliens recovered from Roswell or being held in Area 51.
There was also a Russian Roswell. The Russian jets shot the plane down. One of the aliens was recovered alive. Russia had a jump start on us. Our Roswell, nothing was alive. So the Russians were actually the first people to make it into space. Why? Because they had assistance.
Hardly the only member of his administration with the belief in aliens, though, with John Podesta, President Clinton's former chief of staff, making his belief in visiting extraterrestrials very public. But much as his former boss, stopping short of confirming any knowledge in government involvement. Two of the most shocking claims of aliens visiting Earth, however, come from political leaders in Canada and Russia.
We will also be looking into alien abductions in future videos, so make sure you hit that subscribe button, bell notification, and always comment on these videos because I love to hear what you have to say about it.
In 1997, Kirsan Ilumzhinov, head of the Russian-controlled Republic of Kalmykia, said that he was shocked to discover a hovering UFO right outside his balcony. The aliens flew Ilumzhinov to space and showed him the truth about UFOs. His claims prompted a bit of political panic in Russia, with some questioning his fitness to remain in office, though curiously some of Russia's Duma members were concerned with the potential leaking of classified state secrets to alien beings, and asked for a direction on how to properly respond if approached by extraterrestrials. Perhaps even more shocking, though,
that is going to be something that we will all as a human species need to work on. How to address extraterrestrials, how to say hello. They don't speak English. If they do, you still need to, it's like going to Italian's house or an Asian person's house and giving them the respect that their culture has and requires. Aliens are no different. They need to be respected and they need to be listened to. They have all kinds of information that we can benefit from.
Might be the revelation of one of Canada's former defense ministers. Until today, the highest-ranked state official to reveal the potential existence of alien life on Earth. Serving from 1963 to 67 as a defense minister for America's polite top hat, Paul Hellyer shocked the world during a speech at the University of Calgary. Mr. Hellyer claims that aliens have been visiting Earth for thousands of years.
If you look at the pictures on the temples in the Mayan areas, the Incan areas, Egyptian areas, Mesopotamia, China, all over the globe, they show proof of aliens. You just have to look. More people spend so much energy fighting that it is not an alien, when if they just accepted it, we would be able to change our mindset and improve our way of life.
And perhaps unsurprisingly, don't seem particularly impressed with humanity. According to him, the aliens' chief critique of humanity is that we spend entirely too much time fighting each other, spend too much money on our militaries, and not enough on feeding the poor and helping sick people. According to Hellyer, aliens even walk amongst us, with up to 80 different species visiting the Earth, and some
80. This is a Men in Black scenario almost.
Looking so human that we don't even notice. The good news is that most of the aliens seem to be benevolent and concerned over our previous use of nuclear weapons.
Benevolent is a very interesting word to use, because that would put us to the God level.
And that we might use them again in the future. Generally concerned over humanity's future, the aliens are waiting for humanity to mature before sharing advanced technology with us. However, several species have outright hostile intentions that we need to be wary of, though he declined to share any specifics on those evil aliens.
That would instantly put people in a panic. Instantly.
Both of our previous figures have been painted as crackpots in the media, but our next witness is a real American hero, and one of the few men to ever set foot on another heavenly body, with man-made technology anyway. Astronaut Edgar D. Mitchell is famous for landing on the moon and helping save the lives of all aboard the Apollo 14 mission as it descended to the moon's surface. However, in recent years, he's also come out with claims that aliens are not just real, but actively involved in monitoring mankind. Unlike other leakers, Mitchell, however, stopped short of claiming close cooperation between aliens and world governments, and has never claimed to have met one himself.
I don't know if he would be allowed to say that he's met one himself. One of the things that is a very twisted way of thought, if you put military men in top secret areas and make them do things that they normally would not do, then the easiest way to make sure that they never talk is to give them mental illnesses to the point that they eliminate themselves. This is a strategy. This is how you keep things top secret and quiet. You eliminate those that have the secrets, so the secrets can no longer come out.
Instead, Mitchell claims that his experience in both the U.S. Air Force and NASA put him in contact with many individuals all telling the same story. UFOs have been closely monitoring humanity, and especially its nuclear weapons. In fact, he believes that their goal has been to avert a nuclear war between the U.S. and Russia, or then the Soviet Union. Mitchell's claims aren't solitary either. Over the years, dozens of nuclear facility and nuclear missile silo security, maintenance, and launch personnel have come forward, all claiming to have witnessed UFOs over nuclear facilities, and at times even shutting down nuclear missiles. In fact,
I was a commercial fisherman for a while, and I worked near a nuclear power plant. And I will tell you, the activity in the skies is very busy around a nuclear power plant. And it is not aircraft that we have. They do not fly like a normal aircraft. They have said that if you are in a warp bubble, then G-forces do not apply. So if these aircraft are flying in warp bubbles in our atmosphere, they have the ability to go straight and make hard corners, and it does not affect the pilots. No human plane can do that. Warp bubbles and warp drives have only been mentioned by a South American man very recently, within the 2000s. Warp drives have only been out for the past 3 to 4 years, the idea of a warp drive. Not something we've had for a long time. These vessels and vehicles that are flying through the air are not anything human.
The writer and researcher of this episode, having been former military and with a high security clearance, can confirm multiple sightings of UFOs over a nuclear facility, though has to stress that these were true UFOs, as in unidentified flying objects, not necessarily of an alien origin, simply unknown. Something seems to be out there, but whether it's alien or not remains undecided. Certainly evidence is mounting, however, that somebody on Earth is flying craft with unusual flight characteristics, as shown in now multiple videos declassified by the U.S. Navy of their aircraft in pursuit of UFOs.
This is how they are slowly getting us used to it. They are normalizing the idea of aliens being around. They're declassifying things and showing us that it's already happened. Whether or not we believe it is another thing.
But if these craft are truly alien or not remains unknown. Though perhaps Dr. Chaim Eshed has had the answer all along. The true mystery, however, might be why a man with such impeccable credentials as Dr. Eshed is willing to risk his reputation on such outlandish claims.
Now is the time. We will know within a very short period of time, within our lifetime, whether or not aliens are real. This is not new, but it is about time, and they're warning us. This channel is dedicated to showing the differences between aliens, demons, deities, and gods. This is the Anarchist Necromancer. Thank you for watching.